except with them hands, with them holes, with them throws, you know what I'm saying? Cecil.
This is why I train in martial arts.
I'm gonna do a reaction slash read commentary on this article I found. And this is full of stuff I've been saying for a long time. I couldn't have said it better myself, so I'm not. This article is on worldofmartialarts.tv. It was written by Will Henshaw. I don't know what his background is, but whatever Will's background is, Will knows what he's talking about on this. And this is called Warning: 7 Ways Martial Arts Could Land You in Jail. Basically, by overreacting and doing stuff that's immoral. That's the best way to sum it up. So it says here, I remember years ago a tall tale that said martial artists had to tell everyone who was about to attack them that they do martial arts. It was also almost a disclaimer so that the attacker would be taking his life into his own hands if they didn't go away. The second part of the tall tale was that if the martial arts didn't use a disclaimer, they could face jail. I used to hear that too, and I used to believe that too when I was a teenager. It's not true. It's nonsense. Now, although we know this is total nonsense, there are some pretty easy ways that any martial arts student or instructor could land themselves in jail. And today we will take a look at them and ask, are you doing any of these? Now, one thing too, as an aside that I want to go into, is the idea that black belts have to register their hands and their feet with the police. No, you don't have to do that. That's also some other urban legend that's been out there that just refuses to die. And if anybody's charging you money so they can register your hands and feet with the police force, they are taking advantage of you. But let's continue. Number 1, you train to deliver a killing strike. You got martial arts that's supposed to be for peace and civilians. That's most of us. That's me. And then you have martial arts that are for combat. There is a difference. Combat is war zone, or the person has a weapon and they're trying to kill you. Before I even read this, but what most people get into are ego fights and peaceful civilian conflicts where you don't need to kill the person. You just need to stop the person. This is a key, especially with self-defense systems. Rather than training to disable or deal with an attacker, I see so many arts finish with a kick to the attacker when he is on the floor beaten. Let's think about this for a second. You train to defend yourself from an attacker and you knock them onto the floor where they lie dazed and beaten. Why would you then put a boot into a man that is beaten, or a woman? The arguments are so that he cannot get up and attack you again. However, that's a pretty poor argument given that you are essentially now attacking a man who cannot defend himself. In an actual fact, this could now be classified as an assault. So you train to land a head kick to a man on the floor that is defenseless, possibly unconscious already. In essence, those killing blows will land you in a heap of trouble. Yes, they will. Do yourself a favor, stop training to follow up the attacker when they are defeated. Now, I ran this by more experienced people, and I know I've said this in other videos. The way that we traditionally train, block, hit, throw. One hit when they're down, that's it. Right after the throw. And it's supposed to be the block. The block should be done in a way where the block is disabling or stops them and knocks them off balance. It discourages them, however you choose to do it, even if you did the block as an attack. The hit should be enough to where it dazes them, knocks the wind out of them, just stops them right there, makes them no longer want to attack you. Then after that, the throw or takedown should be to the point where it dazes them, it stops them, it takes the wind out of them, and makes them no longer want to attack you. And if you've done all that correctly and they still are if they try to get back up, they try to rise up again, that's when you do the one hit when they're on the ground and stop. If it's a situation where you have to restrain someone, that is then where you would go into restraining them. But you have to be careful doing restraints and pins willy-nilly in the street because the person may have a weapon. Even if it's a civilian ego fight, they could flip the switch if you get on top of them and try to put them in some kind of chokehold or some type of joint lock. I like to use judo pinning techniques I know this is somebody I just need to calm down. Not for primary self-defense. And there is a way that you can use them for combat. I'm not going to go into that here. And number 2. Number two is you talk about violence on Facebook. Now, I guess I might as well just give my commentary and just look at these points that are here. So it's not that you talk about self-defense, is you give off this impression on Facebook like you anybody mess with you, I just, I just shoot you type people, but you do it with martial arts. Yeah, I'll just dim mock them in the side of the head, neck, face, and then they're gonna die. Because if you mess with me, it's better to be judged by 85 than carried by 76. You know what I mean? All that foolishness. Better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6 until you're in jail. And remember, like I said on the Ahmaud Arbery situation, whether you agree with what they did or not, no matter how much you fall or what side you fall on some of this stuff politically, you can't get back that time that you spent in jail, even if you beat the charge. You can't get that time back. And time is a very valuable resource. I don't want to give any of my time to people that I don't have to give it to. All right, so imagine a situation. You have been attacked by the attacker, was defeated. He now has a broken jaw and needs surgery. There are no witnesses, but the attacker blames you for the incident and says you attacked him. You get arrested, charged, and go to court. The prosecution barrister says, "So, Mr. Jones, you have told the court that you were the one attacked, not that you were not." That's probably what that's supposed to be. Oh, that you were the one attacked, not Mr. Smith. Even though Mr. Smith has a broken jaw, you have told the court that you are not a violent person. So why is it that on the 5th of August, 2015, that you said on Facebook that you would beat the crap out of anyone who crossed you? See, there you go. Man, everybody mess with me, man. They're going to get these hands. That type of stuff. Get these hands. That type of stuff. And then the jury looks at you like you're super psycho karate. Master Ken meets Jason Bourne meets Jason Voorhees. And you wonder why you're going to jail. Facebook is now part of life, so be warned. It's pretty hard to claim that you're a non-violent person when you keep posting abuse, make violent comments and remarks on the social media site. Now, before we get to number three, you know this is just nasty and wrong. You know it is. And I know people fall in love, but come on, man. You start relationships with students. Just don't. I'm not even going to go into. Just don't read the original article. Okay. Yeah, romance can happen at any time, and many instructors get caught of romance with students, and the end result is bitterness, and very often leaves you open to accusations. Quick tip: be a professional martial arts instructor, and don't use your dojo as your own personal dating site. The same goes for your instructor team. Keep a track of what's going on because this could wreak havoc for your business. Hell hath no fury, like the rest of that saying goes. Number 4, you do not have a child protection policy. That's one thing, that's one type of protection I have by teaching for the county, is that's built in. You do not have a child protection policy. You have to protect children if you're teaching children. And it says here, if you are in the business of teaching martial arts to children, then you are also in the business of protecting children. So to make life easy, you need to have a clear and visible child protection policy and possibly even a child protection manager who could be a volunteer. And they're saying not just, protecting kids from, drugs and alcohol, and also establishing boundaries, like perhaps this could go wrong and one of your young male black belts keeps giving all the 14-year-old female students lifts home, as we could see how that could cause issues. And vice versa, too. You can have a female instructor that's a little too familiar with the young male students as well. Right? Number 5, you train to overreact in a situation. Now, I sort of addressed this before. I think it was number 2. Number 2 and 5 kind of go together. Again, the way that we are taught to react with our traditional 1 steps, block, hit, throw, pin. Block, hit, throw, 1 hit while they're down, and then stop. That will keep you from overreacting in a self-defense situation. The overreact stuff to me just comes from ego. Let me show you how marvelous I am. Now I do understand just from the technical brain part of you that likes to see what you can do, the curious part. You may want to try to see different types of things that you can do. But if we're just training for self-defense and really what you teach to other people, keep it simple so that you don't react like a simpleton. Oh, yes, and this is good too. De escalation is something that a lot of martial artists gloss over, but it is a key concept that all students must grasp. I didn't learn a lot about de escalation in class, but when I became an adult and I moved and I thought I was moving to the suburbs, I actually ended up moving to a suburban neighborhood that had a lot of violence around it. So the violence crept into it. So like right where my house of 90% of the time was safe. 10% of the time it wasn't. But 90% of the time was safe. But whenever I went out into the community, I had to deal with people that had a lot of violence experience. And I survived and I'm still alive from that because I learned de-escalation and how to talk to people. Ironically, being bullied in high school helped me learn de-escalation and how to talk to people. And then I had to build on that skill even more as an adult. So now I have a very good grasp of de-escalation, but I also have read about it. I've watched videos about it. If you want an author to go to get into street psychology, I would say Mark McYoung. I like to reference him a lot. And I think Chris Wilder is another one. That sounds right. Now, anybody affiliated with the Mark McYoung thing, they talk a lot about the psychology of violent people. You need to learn that. And watch my videos I have here where I talk about violence experience. It is another skill set. Number 6, you go looking for violence to test your skills. That's a nice old school comic book cartoon. One of the common themes these days on YouTube showing school fights. In lots of these cases, we see martial artists fighting martial artists. It seems really odd that you've trained in martial arts or MMA would try and fight in schools using these techniques that have been taught in class. It's not odd that people have been doing stuff like that since there have been people, because people are just crazy. It is almost as if the martial artists have lost the Buddha way and have become thugs with skills. Yes, they have, but that's what people will do. They're going to take it and they're going to drag it down to the lowest level possible because that's what people do with everything. And it's up to those of us who are keepers of the way, doju nims, to bring it back up. It is almost as if martial arts have lost the Buddha way and become thugs with skills. Yes, I did. If you go looking for fights, you will end up causing some serious harm to others, and this leads to a spell behind bars. Yes, I ain't gonna be no punk. No, right. Don't be a punk. Don't be a punk. Don't be a punk. Don't be a punk, my guy. I was gonna say another word. Don't be a punk. And you go to jail. Martial arts give you a bigger ego and not a smaller one. Number 7. When you go on forums and Facebook groups in martial arts, you tend to see one big ego fest. My style is better than your style. I'm tougher than you. What happened to those guys and girls who turned to martial arts because of bullying, because they were once attacked? Either way, if you find that martial arts is giving you a bigger ego, perhaps you can either try and reduce it, try some serious sparring at another gym, or perhaps you need to stop training in martial arts. Having a big ego will ultimately land you fighting, getting in trouble, and yep, jail. So keep a check on your ego, folks. It's easy for it to get out of hand. So there you have it. 7 ways you can end up in jail. What are your thoughts? Well, I'm giving my thoughts. And I think the main thing that it's a couple of things that keep your ego in check. In addition to having a relationship with God, because you're never going to be bigger than God. I don't care how marvelous you are. Studying different styles so that you will be reminded that you don't know everything. Constantly learning from people who know more than you so you will be reminded that you don't know everything. And get some training in an internal art. Even if you don't belt in it or rank in it, get some internal art exposure. That has been one of the greatest things I could do. Learn some yoga and learn how to breathe. And you know what, man? Just don't take yourself so seriously. It doesn't have to be all that. So thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this with people like to talk about the martial arts. In peace.